Hello, thank you for being in a new video. This time I have an unboxing of the HONOR X7b. Let's get started. This device is part of the mid-range, in its lower section. Remember that the entire HONOR X series is an entry-level series, and by the number you are going to realize how high or low it is. There are also other X6 and even lower devices. And remember that this series started with no letters, then went to the letter A and now reached the letter B. So following this nomenclature, the next model should have the letter C. But let's see what it has in the box after I tell you the price, which in Mexico has been $5,999, announced for the version of 8 GB of RAM and 256 of storage. So both RAM and storage seem like they will be very notable points of this device, but in a moment we'll get to know the rest of its specifications. For now, let's take a look at the contents of the box. And here we have the device right away. The design, like virtually all HONOR devices, is very nice and very pretty, and probably another of its strengths. I don't know if it's distinguishable on the camera. It looks like it is to me, but it has some lines here that give me a reminder of some sort of falling leaves or flowers. It looks very nice and has a projection of different colors, although I would have liked it not to reflect completely the image, but only the light. But well, this is a slightly simpler finish. Anyway, I insist that it looks very nice, especially for the small and subtle gradient it has. Let's turn the device on and see what else is in the box. In this part apparently only comes this key to remove the tray. Honestly, I suspect that the case should be in here, but this is a review unit, and I suspect that only this unit does not include the case, but let me confirm it and put it on the screen. It's a little strange that this part is empty like this. Here is the charger, which is the new 35-watt charger that HONOR distributes in its mid-range as part of its supercharge. We are going to put it to the test later on. I guess it will be a considerably fast charge. In addition, we are going to find here your cable from USB-A to USB-C. Nothing really extraordinary, and it seems like that will be it, unlike the X8b, where an adapter came here in this model. It seems not due to the fact that if it does feature the headphone jack, then we are not included headphones, although it does have this connector. That's all that comes in the box. Let me close it and get back to you to tell you the rest of the specifications of this device. I've already got the device set up, so let's tell you all the specs on it so you can get to know it. It has a weight of 199 grams and a thickness of 8.24 millimeters. In this sense, we could say that it is like the average device, so it does not become so remarkable. Its screen is quite large, 6.8 inches in its diagonal with LCD technology. Its resolution is Full HD Plus and has 90 Hz in its refresh rate, so I think that in this sense it is also like a very standard screen. It does not stand out in virtually any aspect. The front camera is 8 megapixels with f2.0 aperture. Here I have a preview of the photograph where areas still come out very overexposed, but after taking the picture I think it does a good processing. As first impressions, we could say that it does have a good backlight performance, although it seems that there are still some inconsistencies that give us to understand that it is not a flagship device, but I think that in general it could give good pictures with this front camera. But it definitely does feel a bit of a far cry from its X8b sibling, which has a 50 megapixel camera up front here. So here we have a simpler camera. And on the back we'll find the 108 megapixel main camera with f1.75 aperture, then 5 megapixel ultra wide camera with f2.2 aperture, and finally a 2 megapixel depth camera. This camera I consider totally unnecessary, considering that even HONOR itself on other devices is capable of detecting depth with the same ultra wide camera. So this one is honestly just for decoration, as to make it look like it has more cameras. But here I did some testing. This is the ultra-wide camera that honestly looks good. In the preview it looked a lot paler, but after capturing the photo it seems to improve, although there are still some areas here with a little bit more noise and it doesn't have a lot of detail, so it's a simple camera but it's a good wide camera. Now you're looking at a picture with the main camera, and I think it's much improved in terms of noise reduction, detail and color handling compared against the ultra-wide camera. So we have good quality. It gives us 2x zoom, although it loses a lot of dynamic range at that setting, but it maintains a good level of detail. And the maximum zoom it allows is 8x digital. Of course, they are not cameras that stand out too much, so we will have to compare it against some competitors to know if they are really worth their cameras or not. The truth of the matter is that the 108 megapixel camera is the one that could stand out at this price point. I've got a 108 megapixel picture here, and we're going to zoom in to see if we can really see all that level of detail. And indeed, I think it does have a very good resolution, although it does take a little bit of time to show us the full level of detail because the processor is not that powerful. So, it takes a few seconds to clear up the picture, but definitely yes, this could be a strong point, although obviously it's not something that you do repeatedly and continuously. This 108 megapixel feature you may possibly use only on certain occasions. In fact, to take 108 megapixel photos, you should not be in the automatic photo mode, but you must go to more modes, and here you must select the high resolution mode so that the photos come out effectively 108 megapixels. But one of its most remarkable points will be the battery, which is 5,330,000 amps. And this stands out because most devices in its price range will have batteries of 5,000 milliamps. Also, HONOR tends to optimize background app consumption perfectly well, so I could tell you that it will be an excellent device in this battery section. It has a slightly thin but functional side fingerprint reader. Obviously, it's also going to have facial recognition, although you know I don't recommend that one too much. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM plus 8 virtual gigabytes of HONOR. And as I always tell you, I've already tested HONOR's virtual RAM, and it's some of the best out there. It really does work as it should, unlike many other manufacturers who also give you virtual RAM, but in reality you still get a lot of app restarts. In HONOR's case, I think this is very well implemented. It also has 256 gigabytes of storage. This will be another of its highlights because usually devices in this price range come with 128. Although it is true that more and more competitors are pushing the figure up to 256. So, we are reaching a limit where it is becoming more and more common to see things that used to be exclusive to the high end in mid-range devices. And finally, its processor is the Snapdragon 680. In this price range, I think it is a little more acceptable, and I comment because its big brother, the HONOR X7b, also has this processor, but it is a more expensive device. Although obviously it also has other types of improvements, but we would have liked to see a more powerful processor in that model. In this model, I think it will be something much more acceptable, but anyway, let's run a benchmark so you can see for yourself more or less the power it can give us with a numerical reference. Although remember that the real performance we will see in the video review when we put this device to the test with applications, games, and more. And here's the result. We have 415 points on single core and 1462 on multi-core. So, it confirms us that it's a simple processor, it's not powerful at all, although for a good number of people it could be enough. But obviously if your priority is to play games and have maximum power, there are probably more attractive devices in this aspect. But for the moment, this has been a brief and initial look at this device. We will have a full review at a later date. For now, we have reached the end of this video. If you liked it, please let us know and we'll see you next time.